While adding lots of documents to my altbib.com research database last year, my process on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com was actually to initially avoid reading the articles they wrote. Instead, I just kept clicking through all the links provided throughout each alternative article, gradually finding all the new and old mainstream source articles supporting the alternative narrative. Granted, the independent media sometimes uses hyperbolic headlines just like the rest of the American media, but at the end of this reading process, which is now second nature to me, I usually felt the hyperbolic alternative headline was reasonably justified based on the facts confirmed by mainstream sources. Then, if I am still interested, I will read the full alternative analysis and do further independent research of my own. For all documentation I find interesting or might possibly want to revisit later, I catalog it in my collaborative research database, altbib.com. A vast majority of this information is very mainstream, despite being considered evidence for these alternative theories. My stats page shows that at least 3/4 of my documents there are from sources considered totally mainstream. Often, the smoking gun just shows up on page 23 of one prominent newspaper, instead of dominating a full news cycle for a day, week, month, year, or decade. So paradoxically, while the mainstream media has clearly failed us, I personally only feel comfortable defending alternative theories with some adequate quality and quantity of mainstream admissions and declassification of evidence that convinces me. Or, of course, with adequately credible first-hand evidence, primary sources. Anything I haven't researched myself is like window shopping for me. Thinking, oh, some guy thinks that? Wild. Good to know some guy thinks that.
Real punishment for offenders. Family standards. Opportunity for individual enterprise. Roll back the frontiers of the state. Michael's bold and imaginative initiative. And yes, why not corporal punishment? Really crack down young offenders' rule of law. And yes, I make no apology in respect for ordinary, decent, vast majority welfare sponges. As Norman said so clearly, individual enterprise culture, opportunity attack on friendly liberal education. We should pick up on John's wonderfully forceful point, sloppy thinking, 60s media knockers. In Michael's bold and imaginative values, standards, decency, family law. Yes, I make no apology. Why not even perhaps God? And pride in country. Decent, ordinary, sloppy people, vast majority of bold new initiatives, decent family values, standards, core values, return to 50s, responsibility, individual respect, standards, values, and yes, why not? Values, respect, standards, ordinary, decent apology. I make no standards, vast family law. Why not sloppy corporal God punishment, individual decent sponges, wishy-washy, friendly family crime, Michael values? Thank you.
Well, as you can hear, the audience absolutely loving that. But what were the judges making of it, I wonder, Brent?
It was wonderfully confident and assured, wasn't it? Original, though, I'm not sure how the judges are going to like that. You may have noticed that in one of the early passages he opted for family standards instead of the more classically correct family values. But the technique was astounding in one sense.
One way to help move values of truth and transparency forward is to cancel your subscription to publications which support the corporate industrial complex, and based on the information now accessible, have proven to pass on lies handed down to them without critical analysis. Instead, test out completely independent listener-supported media and financially support those you value. Since I'm just starting out my show here, I recommend you go check out the Tragedy and Hope online magazine and community, which my work complements, including amazing, truly independent sources for information like the Maria Heller Show, the Corbett Report, Media Monarchy, Gnostic Media, and Eighth Estate Media and Research with the 9/11 Synchronicity podcast from 2006. Now that I've finally found them, I can happily say that they have been broadcasting extremely close to my intended frequency for years now. This series of my writings and online shows are more focused on what I think, based on my continued research, but I do hope it also sheds ample light on how to think, and beg of everyone to check out the Peace Revolution podcast, as well as the Tragedy and Hope online community, for a more thorough discussion on self-education. As I say, please do not take my word for anything, because you can only have certainty after doing the research yourself. So if you take away anything from this series, it would be more than enough to just adopt a more critical approach to how you process the information which interests you, and to shed your fear of teaching yourself new areas of study. I'm still learning alongside you, a few chapters or books ahead or behind you in my studies, depending on the topic. Being human, I won't get everything right, but I do all the research and writing for everything I put behind my own teleprompter. And I promise to never intentionally mislead those who listen to and or participate in this show. I do want to strongly encourage participation and constructive, documented criticism through the comments on my videos or blogs, sharing links and discussions on the Wiki World Order Facebook page, or emailing me at info@wikiworldorder.com. Even better, create your own Wiki World Order reports, upload them to YouTube, and send them my way. Just pick a topic that interests you, do some extra research to provide evidence for your views, and start writing. And try to balance the talk of problems with solutions. If your work is well thought out and maintains an overall positive vibe, I'm happy to repost your work at wikiworldorder.com. I'm also learning how to do all this video stuff along with you, as it is not my background. But the only way to learn is to start trying. First, you need a microphone, which you can really get at any price point. I don't know much yet, but I've just heard that it's good to stay within 6 inches of your microphone so your voice dominates the background noise of your room. For sound editing, I use Audacity, the free open source software for Mac or Windows. If you have a smartphone, there's a good chance that you can download a free or cheap app which works as a teleprompter. On my phone, I'm using a $1 app called iPrompter. Then check this out. I went to my local hardware store to get a piece of glass and lucked out, and they gave me a piece of scrap glass for free. Then I just cut 2 slots in a cardboard box at roughly 45-degree angle and slid the glass through. Put your box on top of a surface at an appropriate height and throw a dark sheet over the top, sides, and back. Inside the box is a $100 HD flip cam on a mini tripod. With a little trial and error, it doesn't take me long to get a workable shot through my homemade teleprompter. Depending on your room, it might be worth investing in an extra light source or two, and you can hang a cheap green sheet on the wall behind you so you can easily swap out the background and make a video more visually stimulating. Adding some sugar with the medicine. I use the free trial of Adobe After Effects, then reformat my computer every month to keep using it free and legit. And easy yet thorough tutorials on how to use After Effects can be found for free at videocopilot.net. There are also tools on wikiworldorder.com for making your own reports, including a higher quality episode template without me in it. So feel free to reuse the graphics and animations I have made, all under Creative Commons. Some future episodes of the Wiki World Order Report will be case studies in SPINformation by analyzing personal examples of the mainstream outlets I enjoy listening to most. I will look at key points where they differ with my interpretation of reality, in hopes of learning to consider more critically those outlets who otherwise might take my trust for granted. No matter what information you regularly take in, please frequently remind yourself of the bias inherent to your preferred outlets, and do your best to drop emotional attachment to things you think you know. And even better, please become your own media outlet. You can start by just studying any topic which interests you, then create anything to share what you've learned with your friends. Don't be scared to fail. That's the only way to learn. The process really tests your understanding and then gets you some feedback.
Be free.
One of the key underlying solutions to all of the overwhelming problems we faced is a resurgence of methodical critical thinking. So please, please, please check out the Peace Revolution podcast for a more thorough discussion of the Trivium and Quadrivium. Our own ignorance is what enables us to remain enslaved. In the past century, the chains and shackles were traded for advanced propaganda. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires active participation. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Wiki World Order Report. Thank you for participating, and thank you for thinking critically.
I say, Jack, not a bad turnout. Yes, over here. I'm Muldoon.
Mr. Muldoon, what is your position on Europe? Do you see yourself as a federalist?
Crikey. Well, you know, federalist is as federalist does. That's always been my watchword.
Does that mean you'll be advocating the German model in future discussions?
Jack, a boy from Trenton House is screaming, "How's that?" in my face.
I believe very strongly in the notion of peace through strength.
Yes, said why?
You do what?
I believe in what Jack just said. Yes, peace through strength for him. Yes.
And if it should become necessary,
And if it should at any time become necessary,
protect the interests of this country,
to protect, in a manner of speaking, the interests, as it were, of this country,
we will not hesitate to invade Poland.
we will not hesitate to invade. Excuse me. Jack, I think that's pitching it a bit strong.
It's what we agreed.
We.
Your supporters, Neddy. We agreed.
But Jack, oh, hello. You've still got that knife I gave you. It's doing all right, is it? Useful?
Very useful, thank you, Neddy.
Muldoon, did you say that you were prepared to invade somewhere?
Oh, no. Just a silly misunderstanding. No, what I always suggest in situations like this is that you sit round a table. Well, it doesn't have to be a round table. You could sit along the side of a long table and just have a little chat and a head scratch. Oh, Jack.
Yes, Neddy?
Someone's just gone and stuck a knife in me.
Officer! The police are after them now, Neddy.
Jack,
Yes, Neddy?
I want you to have my lawnmower.
For the truth to sink in.
You can find the full transcript with links to documentation for every episode at wikiworldorder.com. You can also download full high-quality video files and download MP3s of the audio version for each episode and all the music created, all there for free on the website. Furthermore, every episode is also set up on altbib.com so you can watch each episode on the left side of your screen, while on the right side of the screen you have all the links to the documentation provided in the transcript, presented by timestamps corresponding to the video or audio. I call this my research-along theater, and I've adopted James Corbett's methodology of providing detailed web-accessible documentation, as my intention is to be an open-source intelligence media outlet.
The Trivium method of learning. The Trivium method of learning. The Trivium method of learning versus the outcome-based education or the Prussian model of education.